If you or someone you love has a green card and a DUI on your record, you might be terrified right now. You've probably seen headlines screaming that a new law in 2026 is going to start deporting green card holders with DUIs. Your heart might be racing. You might be wondering if you need to pack your bags or if your entire life in the United States is about to fall apart. I need you to take a breath, because what I'm about to share with you is going to replace that panic with actual facts. My name is Saqib, and this is Global Immigration Updates, where we cut through the noise, the rumors, and the fear-mongering to bring you immigration news that's based on reality, not clicks. No politics, no panic, just the truth about what's actually happening with immigration law in the United States and around the world. So let's talk about this DUI and green card situation. Is there really a new law in 2026 that will automatically deport green card holders who have a DUI? The short answer is no. There is no single new law that was just passed in 2026 that suddenly makes every DUI a deportable offense for green card holders. But here's what is true. DUIs have always been a serious issue in immigration law, and depending on the circumstances of your case, a DUI conviction can lead to removal proceedings. This is not new. What may be changing is enforcement priorities and how strictly immigration authorities are applying existing laws. Let me explain how this actually works, because a lot of people don't understand the relationship between criminal convictions and immigration status. When you become a lawful permanent resident, which means you hold a green card, you are allowed to live and work in the United States indefinitely. However, your green card is not the same as citizenship. It can be taken away under certain conditions. One of those conditions is if you are convicted of certain crimes. Immigration law divides crimes into different categories. The most serious categories are called crimes involving moral turpitude and aggravated felonies. These terms sound complicated, but they're extremely important. A crime involving moral turpitude is generally a crime that involves dishonesty, fraud, or conduct that is considered morally wrong by society. An aggravated felony is a category that includes serious crimes like murder, rape, drug trafficking, and certain other offenses. However, the definition of aggravated felony has expanded over the years, and some crimes that don't sound very aggravated at all can fall into this category depending on the sentence you received. Now, where does a DUI fit into all of this? A single DUI conviction, by itself, is usually not considered a crime involving moral turpitude or an aggravated felony. That means a single DUI, in most cases, will not automatically make you deportable. However, and this is a big however, there are exceptions. If your DUI involved certain aggravating factors, it can become a deportable offense. For example, if your DUI caused serious bodily injury to another person, it could be charged as a felony, and depending on your state's laws and your sentence, it might be classified as an aggravated felony under immigration law. If you have multiple DUI convictions, that also raises red flags. If your DUI was combined with other criminal behavior, like fleeing the scene or driving without a license, the situation becomes more complicated. Additionally, even if your DUI does not make you technically deportable, it can still cause major problems for your immigration status. When you apply to renew your green card, when you apply for citizenship, or when you re-enter the United States after traveling abroad, immigration officers will review your criminal history. A DUI can be used as evidence that you lack good moral character, which is required for naturalization. It can also lead to additional questioning or delays. In some cases, Customs and Border Protection officers at the airport can refer you to secondary inspection and even initiate removal proceedings if they believe your criminal history makes you removable. So why are people suddenly panicking in 2026? The panic is being fueled by a combination of things. First, there has been increased rhetoric around immigration enforcement in recent years. Different administrations have different enforcement priorities. Some administrations focus heavily on deporting individuals with any criminal record, even minor offenses. Others focus only on serious criminals. When enforcement priorities shift, even if the law itself hasn't changed, the practical impact on immigrants can be very real. People who might have been left alone under one set of priorities could suddenly find themselves in removal proceedings under another set of priorities. Second, social media is filled with half-truths and misunderstandings. Someone hears about a green card holder being deported after a DUI, and suddenly the rumor spreads that everyone with a DUI will be deported. But the reality is always more nuanced. That person who was deported might have had multiple DUIs, or their DUI might have involved injury to another person, or they might have had other criminal convictions. The details matter, but they get lost in the panic. Third, there may be proposed legislation or policy changes being discussed in Congress or by federal agencies that would make DUI-related immigration consequences more severe. Proposed changes are not the same as actual law. Just because someone introduces a bill doesn't mean it will pass. Just because an agency proposes a rule doesn't mean it will go into effect. But headlines don't always make that distinction clear. Let me be very clear about who is actually at risk. If you are a green card holder and you have been convicted of a DUI that involved serious bodily injury or death, you are at high risk of being placed in removal proceedings, and you need to speak with an immigration attorney immediately. If you have multiple DUI convictions, you are also at elevated risk, especially if your state treats repeat DUIs as felonies. If you have a DUI combined with other criminal convictions, your risk increases significantly. If you are planning to travel outside the United States and re-enter, or if you are planning to apply for citizenship, a DUI on your record will be scrutinized, and you should consult with an attorney before taking any action. On the other hand, if you have a single DUI conviction from many years ago, you have completed all the terms of your sentence, including probation and fines, you have not been arrested for anything else since then, and you are not planning to apply for citizenship or travel internationally in the near future, your immediate risk of deportation is relatively low. That does not mean there is no risk. It means you are not in the highest risk category. Immigration law is full of gray areas, and your specific situation matters. Now let's talk about what you should actually do if you have a DUI and a green card. The most important thing is, do not ignore this. Hoping the problem will go away is not a strategy. If you have any criminal conviction and you hold a green card, you should consult with an immigration attorney who can review your specific case. Not all DUIs are treated the same way, and an attorney can tell you whether your particular conviction makes you deportable, whether it will affect your ability to naturalize, and what steps you can take to protect yourself. If you have not yet been convicted and you are facing DUI charges, it is absolutely critical that your criminal defense attorney understands the immigration consequences of any plea deal. Sometimes a plea deal that looks good from a criminal law perspective can be disastrous from an immigration perspective. Your criminal attorney and your immigration attorney need to work together. If your criminal attorney does not understand immigration law, you need to bring in someone who does. If you are planning to apply for citizenship, do not assume that your DUI will automatically disqualify you. The good moral character requirement looks at your entire history, not just one incident. However, you should be prepared to explain the circumstances of your DUI, show evidence of rehabilitation, and demonstrate that you have been a law-abiding resident since then. An immigration attorney can help you prepare a strong application. If you are planning to travel outside the United States, be aware that when you return, Customs and Border Protection will have access to your criminal history. If you have a DUI, especially a recent one, you may be questioned. In some cases, you may be referred to secondary inspection. In rare cases, you could be denied entry or placed in removal proceedings. Before you travel, consult with an attorney to understand your risk. If you receive a notice to appear in immigration court, do not ignore it. This is the document that officially starts removal proceedings against you. You have the right to be represented by an attorney in immigration court, and you should exercise that right. Immigration court is not the place to represent yourself. The consequences are too serious. Now let me address some common myths and misunderstandings. Myth number 1, a DUI will automatically get you deported. False. As I explained, a single DUI without aggravating factors is usually not a deportable offense by itself. Myth number 2, if you were not deported right after your DUI conviction, you are safe forever. Also false. Immigration enforcement priorities change, and you can be placed in removal proceedings years after a conviction. Myth number 3, if you became a citizen, your old DUI doesn't matter anymore. Partially false. If you naturalized and USCIS later discovers that you lied about your criminal history, or that you were not actually eligible to naturalize because of your criminal record, your citizenship can be revoked. Myth number 4, expunging your DUI from your criminal record means it no longer exists for immigration purposes. False. Immigration law does not recognize expungements the same way criminal law does. Even if your state court expunged your conviction, it still counts for immigration purposes in most cases. Let's also talk about where you should be getting your information. The official source for immigration law and policy in the United States is USCIS, which stands for United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Their website is uscis.gov. If you want to read the actual text of immigration laws, you can visit congress.gov and search for the Immigration and Nationality Act. If you are concerned about how criminal convictions affect immigration status, the USCIS Policy Manual has detailed guidance. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, is the agency responsible for admitting or denying entry to people at ports of entry, and their website is cbp.gov. The Executive Office for Immigration Review, or EOIR, manages the immigration courts, and their website is justice.gov/EOIR. Do not rely on random posts on social media, YouTube videos that use dramatic language and fear tactics, or advice from friends and family who are not immigration professionals. Immigration law is complicated, and even well-meaning people can give you dangerously wrong information. Here's something else I want you to understand. Immigration rules do not change overnight. Even when a new law is passed or a new policy is announced, there is usually a process. There are implementation periods. There are often legal challenges. You will have time to understand what is happening and to seek help. Panic and rash decisions are your enemy. Calm, informed action is your friend. I also want to remind you that you have rights. If you are placed in removal proceedings, you have the right to a hearing before an immigration judge. You have the right to be represented by an attorney at your own expense. You have the right to present evidence and witnesses. You have the right to appeal an unfavorable decision. The immigration system is not designed to be fast or easy, but it does have due process protections. Use them. If you are watching this video because you are scared, I want you to know that I understand. Immigration status is not just a piece of paper. It represents your entire life, your family, your home, your future. The fear of losing that is real and valid, but fear without accurate information leads to bad decisions. My goal with this channel is to give you the information you need to make smart, informed choices about your immigration journey. So here's what I want you to take away from this video. There is no brand new law in 2026 that suddenly makes all DUIs deportable offenses for green card holders. However, DUIs have always been a potential problem in immigration law, and enforcement priorities can change. If you have a DUI and a green card, your risk level depends on the specific facts of your case, including whether your DUI involved injury, whether you have multiple convictions, and whether you have other criminal history. The best thing you can do is consult with an immigration attorney who can review your situation and give you personalized advice. Do not ignore the issue. Do not rely on social media rumors. Do not make major decisions without professional guidance. If you found this video helpful, I need you to do a few things. First, subscribe to Global Immigration Updates and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an important update. Immigration news moves fast, and I'm here to help you stay informed without the fear and the hype. Second, share this video with anyone you know who might be worried about DUIs and green cards. There are a lot of people out there right now who are panicking based on incomplete or false information, and you can help them by sharing the facts. Third, leave a comment below with any immigration questions you have. I read the comments, and your questions help me create content that actually addresses what you need to know. Remember, immigration is not about luck. It's about understanding the system, knowing your rights, and making informed decisions. Stay calm, stay informed, and take this seriously, but do not let fear control you. I'm Saqib, and I'll see you in the next video.